Are you looking to buy or sell a home in Ottawa? Are you hearing conflicting information on whether it is or is not a good time to buy or sell? Well, don't go anywhere. I'm here to help you understand what's going on in Ottawa's real estate market so that you'll be better prepared to decide whether it's the right time for you to buy or sell. This update covers the fall season of 2025, so September, October, and November, and it's specifically for the City of Ottawa boundaries. The numbers will be different than what you see released by the Ottawa Real Estate Board, as well as most other realtors who just share what the Real Estate Board releases. Their area of coverage includes some areas outside of the city, and they use different definitions for property types. The first thing I'll talk about is months of inventory. The months of inventory is a measure or a ratio of how many homes are on the market and how many homes have sold in any given month. It represents how many months it would take to sell all of the currently listed homes given the current rate of home sales if no more homes were listed for sale. Since it's affected by not only how many homes are on the market, but how many homes are selling, it's always shifting. The months of inventory changes with the seasons. The months of inventory is typically lowest in the spring months, and then it slowly climbs throughout the year till the winter, but sometimes there's a temporary drop with an active fall market. The months of inventory for all properties in Ottawa this fall started out at about 4 months in September, dropped to about 3.75 in October, and then climbed up to 4.25 in November. This corresponded to a more active pace of sales in October, but a slowdown in November. Looking back to how this compared to 2024, our months of inventory is higher by about a half a month, and that makes sense because the fall market in 2024 was more active and it extended well into November. For months of inventory, I like to break it down into the 3 main property categories because, as you'll see, the months of inventory for a freehold townhome is not the same as what you'll see for a condominium apartment. So first off, if you're looking for a detached home, the months of inventory was at 3.75 months in September, dropped to 3.15 in October, but climbed back up to 3.7 in November. Freehold townhomes continue to be the property category selling the quickest. The months of inventory peaked at about 2.7 months in September and then dropped slightly to 2.5 in October and rose back up to 2.65 in November, signaling that there's still a fairly strong market for townhomes overall. Looking back to 2024 for townhomes, the peak was at 2.5 in September, but it dropped all the way down to 1.25 months in November, showing that things are slower than they were last year. So while detached and townhomes remained less than 4 months of inventory throughout the fall of 2025, with that slight dip in October, condominium apartments saw a much slower pace of sales and higher months of inventory. The months of inventory has been on a constant climb since April 2025 when it was 3.95 months of inventory. September was at 5.3, October 6.3, and November was just shy of 7 months of inventory. Sales are slower. Buyers have the benefit of lots of inventory and negotiations with sellers who may really need to sell. Next, let's talk about prices. The average sale price of all properties across the City of Ottawa in this autumn was $699,178 in September, which was up slightly, but just less than $1,000 from last month, so that was August, and September 2024. In October, the average sale price climbed to $719,702, which was over 5% higher than October 2024, and the highest average price Ottawa has ever seen in October. Yes, even higher than 2021 or 2022. And finally, in November, the average was just over $685,000, which remains the highest ever average sale price for November in Ottawa. Breaking it down into property types, the average sale price for a detached home in Ottawa was about $903,000 in September, $909,000 in October, and then dropped to $878,000 in November. All 3 months were between 3 and 5% higher than the 2024 average sales prices. Throughout the fall, a freehold townhome sold for an average of $617,000 in September, $611,000 in October, and $602,000 in November. Unlike the detached market, these were all lower average sale prices than in 2024, with November being 3.5% below November 2024 prices. And finally, for the condominium apartment segment of the market, the average sale price actually rose throughout the fall months, starting out at $423,000 in September, 436,000 in October, and 449,000 in November. These were all higher averages than 2024 average sale prices. September by just 0.4%, November by 5.7% as compared to the same month last year. I will point out one thing about condo apartment sales though. You've got a very wide variety of what condo apartments are in the city. You've got small one bedrooms and you've got a lot of luxuries. So depending on which units are selling, those averages can get skewed. The next thing we'll look at is how long it is taking for homes to sell. This is the days on market, and it represents the time on market for those homes that have sold. Citywide, we saw an average of 36 days on the market for all property types in September, 27 days in October, and 39 days in November. These were up by 1 to 2 days over what we saw last year, the same period. Breaking it down into the property types, we see that detached homes took an average of 32 days to sell in September, but it quickly climbed to 37 days in October and 39 days in November. It's comparable to last year when we saw 34, 36, and 39 days for detached homes for the same months. For freehold townhomes, the average time to sell was 30 days for both September and October 2025, and then it jumped up to 35 days for November. Last year was slightly quicker at 27, 32, and 33 days for those same months. And to pull that overall average up, condominium apartments took an average of 51 days in September, but actually dropped off to 40 and 42 days for October and November. Last year was 43, 42, and 38, respectively, for the same months, which corresponds to the higher months of inventory as well. The final metric of how the market is doing that I'll share is the average list to sale ratio. It's a measure of how close the asking prices and selling prices are. This past month, the list to sale ratio was at 98% for all property types. This represents no change on a month-to-month or year-to-year basis. Looking at the different housing types though, detached are at the average of 98%. Townhomes were at 99% in September, but did drop to the overall average of 98% in October and November. And condo apartments have been sitting at 97% since June of 2025. If you're tracking the mortgage rates to see what sort of mortgage that you'd be expecting to be able to get for a new purchase or for a refinance, you'll be happy to know that the rates have come down just a little bit throughout this fall of 2025. The Bank of Canada made 2 quarter-point cuts in September and October to their overnight lending rates, and that influences the variable lending rates that we see at the various banks. They held their rate steady at their early December announcement, which I know this is a November announcement, but it happened before I recorded this. So fixed mortgage rates, on the other hand, are set by banks based on the 5-year bond rates, which fluctuate a little bit more often. They haven't changed too much, and they're sitting at or slightly below 4%. So overall, you can expect to get rates somewhere between the 3.5% and 4%. They're very rough numbers, and you need to really speak to your lender, ideally a mortgage broker, about your specific situation to find out what your rates are for your scenario. I know a little bit about mortgages, which I'm sharing, but they are the experts and they're the ones that you should talk to. So what are my takeaways from the fall real estate market in Ottawa? First, inventory levels are elevated. We have about 28% higher inventory right now at the end of November than we did last year, which is about 730 more properties for sale. The last time we had that many properties on the market in November was 2016. It's not across property types though. Detached homes are elevated, but only by 15%. Condo apartments, surprisingly, are only 19% higher than last year. But it's actually the townhouse market that's seeing a flood of inventory right now, 62% higher than last year. So for buyers, enjoy the extra inventory and that possibility of having a bit more time to decide and do all of your due diligence. If you're shopping for a townhome, keep an eye on the inventory levels. If an extended period of time of higher inventory could translate into prices softening a little. If you're just at the starting point of thinking of buying, now is the time to reach out to a trusted realtor and start the conversation. Together with a mortgage broker, you'll figure out what was within your budget and start acquainting yourselves with what is going on in the market. If you're planning on buying early next year, don't wait till spring. Reach out now and get a head start on educating yourself so you're ready to buy with confidence when the time is right. And finally, my message for sellers, well, it hasn't really changed from last time. If you're looking to sell, you need to price it right and you need to make it show like a 10 out of 10. If it's not a 10 out of 10, then just adjust your price accordingly. Use the next couple months to get all the little projects done around your house in preparation for listing in 2026. Regardless of the season, there are always properties being bought and sold, even across the holidays. And with inventory levels as they are, there could be some great opportunities to buy at what typically are the lowest prices of the year. If you're looking to talk to someone about the home you own or one you plan to buy, you need someone on your side who's going to tell you the truth and lay things out clearly. The key is information and education so that you're making informed decisions on this huge financial decision. If you're looking to connect, my contact details are available in the notes of the video or on my website. Otherwise, I'll be back again soon with an updated report on the Ottawa real estate market. Happy holidays.